Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you.
Welcome to the B-List, where we talk about everything we love to hate
and everything that we hate to love.
I'm Tara.
I'm Courtney. Today we're going to talk about my favorite B horror movies.
Yes, so if you did not listen to last week's episode, go back and listen to that one.
Go take a listen. And
I feel like mine were not as much of a punishment as Courtney's are going to be.
I don't know. The brain damage was pretty bad.
Okay, brain damage was pretty bad. But some of these, if there was an award for picking out the crappiest horror movie, Courtney would win.
Yeah, I'm good at this. I'm really good at this.
She digs real deep.
Yeah. These are a couple of deep cuts. There's always going to be like a fan base for some of these too, and I was really surprised that.
Did you find some for these?
Yeah. The first one I talk about actually is going to be a movie called Feeders, and let's just go ahead and transition with that, and then I'll get the. Let's see. I know I've got this somewhere here. Oh, there it is. No! Feeders, right there. This one is a great movie. The directors of this movie are the two main characters in it, so that's always an earmark for a great.
I mean, unless you're like an Affleck or something, you probably shouldn't be starring and directing.
Well, I don't know. This was almost a Good Will Hunting, except with aliens.
Only with mustaches.
With mustaches and
paper
mullets.
mache aliens.
Paper mache aliens. Yeah, this one was released in, I'm going to say, when was it? May 96. And
96?
And yeah, that's just, I think it was shot earlier, but they, sat on this one for a little while.
Well, yeah, they had to really think about what that was going to do to their careers, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. And it was an estimated $500 budget.
So it was a Clerks situation.
Ooh, here.
I love me.
And the thing about this movie is that it has a sequel. They had a sequel. So
yeah, we're gonna have to come back. We're gonna have to come back to like B-list sequels.
Yeah.
Ooh,
because we got to find the basket case sequels.
Yes.
Because there's two more of those.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, back to Feeders here.
Yeah.
It looks like it was shot on a VHS.
It very much was.
And so it had to have been.
Oh yeah.
So it starts out with two friends that are on a road trip, and I never did get their character names.
There's no names. Mustache and mullet.
So I called it Mustache and the Hair.
Mustache and the Hair.
And
they're not crime fighters.
No, they're not. Not by any means. I love those comic books.
Just a couple of doofuses in a car.
Just a couple. Yeah.
Does it explain where they're going and why?
Well, they're on a road trip.
Yeah.
And there's lots of driving. The first 4 or 5 minutes of it is just them driving, no conversation, just shots of them driving everywhere. And then you find out later that they're going on a coast-to-coast road trip, I guess it was, because Mustache talks about he wants to hurry up through these little towns because he's got to get to the coast and see the babes in bikinis.
That's true, the babes in bikinis.
So
I remember that.
So anyway, so they're driving around. You're not really introduced to them yet, but it does cut to a park ranger who looks up in the sky and sees...
And he says it's a meteor.
The UFO.
Doesn't he say it's a meteor?
He sees a UFO, thinks it's a meteor, and he takes off going to look for it. And then we're done with the park ranger for now. Cut back to the friends who are finally talking about their road trip. And this is where you find out that they are going to go see babes in bikinis.
Babes in bikinis.
And his friend, the Hare, is like, well, hang on.
The Hare
says, I want to stop in this town that was devastated by a flood, and I'm going to take some pictures. And so he stops and takes pictures of this town.
With this tiny little...
Well, I in my notes I put, he's using the same plastic 35mm camera that I myself got for my 7th birthday.
That we all had.
Yeah, it's just a little plastic thing.
It's not like a giant Nikon.
It's not like he's a photographer.
No. He got a shitty camera for his birthday and he wants to take some pictures. And so anyway, they go around and take pictures of various devastation. And it's just stock photos of like non-related
devastation. And there's a little cartoon shutter that he's taking the pictures, because every time he clicks this cartoon shutter takes a picture.
All of the filters and like the lighting in this movie were really, it was a lot.
Yeah. It's $500 budget. That's all I gotta say.
That's more than I would have given it, I guess. I don't know.
Guess. So anyway, the mustache is not impressed with any of this. He's like nonplussed. He's ready to go.
No, he sees no hot babes in bikinis.
No babes in bikinis. So he's like, let's get out of here. The dude, the hair. He's like, he runs out of film. So they're like, okay, I'm going to get some more film and we're going to go gas up. So they go to do all that. In the meantime, Park Ranger has a run-in with these aliens, and the aliens, the little saucer lands and like zaps a couple aliens down. Mm-hmm. These aliens, y'all.
This picture here, if you're YouTubing it, does not do it justice.
Does not do it justice at all. They look like paper mache Halloween decorations that like a 10-year-old made.
Yeah, it looks like
they're on sticks, and then when they move,
they're not
walk,
big.
They're
not big. They're like what, like a foot?
Just a couple feet,
maybe like a couple feet tall.
Just a couple feet.
Literally, if you threw them in the water, they would disintegrate.
Right. And they're the few that they do kill, they're real squishy, and they just squish and they're dead. So I don't know why they have such a problem with.
And their blood is it orange?
It was orange or yellow or something like that.
Orange or yellow, yeah.
Something like that. Paint. Whatever paint they had laying around on set, but so they go to the gas station, and while the hair is paying and getting his film, Mustache gets some dates with a couple of babes while he's there. Couple of hot babes. Because they decided they're not going to make it out of town in time to do whatever, so they're just going to stay the night, and instead of getting a hotel room, they're going to camp. So they invite these babes back to their campsite.
For a party.
There's also a local fisherman. So after the park ranger gets it, the fisherman also gets it. And he's injured by these aliens.
Yeah.
He stumbles out into the road. So while the main characters...
Like a drunk man. Not like an injured man. Like, he's just like...
gets out there. They hit him with their car while they're headed to their campsite. And then they're like...
the worst car accident scene I've ever seen in my life.
It's...
They're slow rolling at like 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He's like, rolling across the car. And they're like, well, I don't know what to do. Let's throw him in the car and take him to the
car.
We got to take him to the emergency room.
Only it's not an emergency room. It's like a...
But aren't you taught to like not move the injured person?
Well,
you're not supposed to...
Before cell phones, so they couldn't just leave them there. Like, one couldn't stay behind with them.
Okay.
They had to go.
Mustache could have stayed behind.
Anybody could have stayed behind and gotten help. But instead, they take him to like a primary care doctor at the local town.
It's very much like the smallest doctor's
one table.
Office. Yeah.
And so they bring him in.
Bring him in here.
The doctor takes a look and he's like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do for this man. And so Mustache and Hair are devastated by this news. And they're like, well...
The doctor is like, have you called the authorities? And they're like, no, not yet. We had to get him here. He's like, don't worry. I'll take care of it. And then they're like, well... Is that your job?
I guess.
It's like
Somebody's got to do it.
It's like a one-horse town. Like, you can't just holler across the... Hey!
Lean out the door. So they're like, well, that sucks that he died.
Anyways, on to our party.
Anyway, so we're out. After they just kill the guy.
The guy. The doctor didn't stop them. Like, you need to stay here for questioning.
No, they just
take off. The police are coming. They're like, all right, gotta go.
Yeah, they gotta meet some babes at the campsite. So, let's see what else happens in this movie. They rush him, after they rush him to the doctor, the doc calls the popo.
Yep.
And an alien pops out of the body and kills him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a wrap on the doctor. The popo never shows up either, do they?
They're like, I hear there's a banging party at
There's
the campsite.
There's going to be a party out at this campsite.
Might be babes in bikinis. I don't know.
So anyway, now we're going to cut to babe number 1, okay? She's at home talking to babe number 2 on the phone. And,
I would definitely loosely call her a babe. She looks like a librarian.
dude, these girls are smoking. They're pretty babish. Babe number 1 looks like a dollar store Barb from Stranger Things.
Yeah, she's got the short hair and the big glasses. I'm not saying you cannot have short hair and be a babe. We've both had short hair and been babes.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
I had short hair most of my life.
But when you have gigantic glasses, and I don't know.
She was rocking it. So she's talking to babe number 2 and is telling her she's worried about her dad, who is the park ranger, and he hasn't made it home yet. And babe number 2's plot twist. Babe number 2 says, "Don't worry about it. We'll find your dad whenever we go out to this party in the woods." And so
okay, give me a couple of hours to get ready and I'll be there.
Yeah.
A couple of hours.
Give me a couple hours. So anyway, they get off the phone. Babe number 2, well, let me backtrack a little bit. Babe number 1 is killed by aliens. Let's just cut to the chase. She's killed by aliens in a really badly acted death.
Yeah.
And then
screaming. Not great.
Babe number 2 shows up to pick her up and sees her body and is then attacked by these same aliens. And she squishes one of them. She sets another one on fire.
She's just like, she should be in charge of this whole thing.
She's just killing
all the things.
But instead, she leaves the scene and is never heard from again.
Yep.
She's
like, screw this. I'm out of this town.
I'm out of this. She didn't even go to the party.
Nope. She didn't call the authorities. She didn't tell anybody. She just doesn't show up anymore. It's called minding your business. And that's how you survive this movie.
That's how you survive.
You go home, you lock your door, don't open it for aliens.
So Mustache and Hair, they're getting to their campsite and they're setting up when they hear growling and decide that they need to leave. So they leave, but the car won't start.
Yeah, the car won't start.
So they decide to just start booking it on foot.
Makes me think that they got a lot of snacks and beer at this gas station and not a lot of gas.
Not a whole lot of gas. And so, well, either that or the aliens are just that advanced that they've, taken...
They're like, unplug the...
Took a sparkulator.
Spark tube.
The spark tube.
We are mechanics.
We know what we're doing.
I know about vehicles.
So they run for like hours. And here's the thing about this movie too, is that it puts a timestamp on it every so often.
It does, and it's very irregular.
And it's very, yeah, I mean, it doesn't ever match the time of the day.
No.
But because of these timestamps, you know that they've been like running on foot for a couple hours. And they end up coming up on a head without a face, just a skull and eyeballs, and like the brains coming out.
Yeah, it's very much Jello.
And then it's
there's no skin. There's eyeballs.
Just eyeballs and brain. And so then they see the saucer, the UFO, show back up, and
they're smart enough to know it's a UFO. The other guy before, the park ranger, is like, must be some kind of meteor.
Yeah, they actually no. At this point, they hadn't found the head. They see the saucer, and then they're like, oh wait. This must be an invasion, so let's keep going. And so then they run for like a couple more hours.
Mustache uses the F word, and he says, "This is a fucking UFO."
Yeah.
Ooh, that's where they got their R rating.
They got their R rating from that.
Because there were no boobies in this one, right? There's no boobies.
Not that I can remember.
I don't think so.
I don't think. Just
no, because hot girl number 2 is like, bye.
They're out. The only 2 girls in this whole thing, and there's a wrap on them early.
Very small cast.
So so they find the bloody head after they see the saucer, and then an alien shows up at this point, and it's now they spit acid. So
they weren't doing that before.
They weren't doing that before, but now here's a new superpower. So they're spitting acid, and the hair gets injured.
Yep.
And then they beat the alien with a rock because they're really easy to kill.
They really are.
They're so squishy. They just kind of and they're done. But
hot girl stomped on one with her foot, just like crushed it like a bug,
and it was over. So after they run some more, they find an abandoned cabin in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
They explore this cabin for way too long. Mustache finds some body parts.
Yep.
Hair finds like a plastic Halloween skeleton. So Mustache decides he's going to grab a sickle and take
Yeah.
up arms.
Is there just random sickles in the woods?
Well,
Yeah, this
this
one.
was Sickle Cabin. It was lucky they stumbled on Sickle Cabin.
Sickletown, which is
Sickletown.
known for producing most of America's
Most
sickles.
and the rest of the world, it's their biggest
It's an Amish
export.
town. They produce the sickles.
So he's gets the sickle. They decide that the hare needs a doctor, but little do they know that the only doctor in town is dead.
Mm.
But
Guess
before
they shouldn't have left. Guess they should have stuck around.
right. But before they head into town, another alien pops up, and Mustache chops him up with his little sickle.
Mm-hmm. He's getting after them with that sickle. He's
Yeah. And the aliens, again, they're so technologically
Advanced.
inclined that they cut the phone lines,
Yep.
so they can't call out because they're clever. And before they can leave, again, the UFO comes back and I don't know, sets off a bomb or something.
something.
It shakes the whole cabin
Mm-hmm.
and knocks our two characters out. But when Mustache comes to, he's beamed up into the ship.
Yep.
And it looks like he's chopped up or killed or something.
Well, at some point, isn't he like? Did we already talk about how he there was like a double, like the alien looked like him, and
Well, that's what's coming.
it's coming up. Okay.
Coming up. Hare wakes up.
Hare wakes up. Yes, Hare wakes
And
up.
he's like, "Where's Mustache?" Because he was knocked out. He was knocked out in the sonic boom. Mustache, my friend. But Mustache shows back up.
Yay!
But I guess the aliens could clone now because
Yeah.
they have random superpowers.
Yep.
And,
Maybe it's like each one has a different superpower.
but
Like this one spits acid. This one has a squishy exoskeleton. This one can beam things up. This one has...
they're like the X-Men of Nibiru.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, there's my friend Mustache." But then the real Mustache, I guess, shows back up and is like,
Who are you?
"Who are you?" And so Mustache fights with his clone,
Mm-hmm.
and Hare's all confused.
Yeah, Hare's like, I don't know who's
I don't know. So he just takes a guess and chops one up. And then he second guesses himself and he's like, "I don't know if I chopped up the right friend." Or maybe I chopped.
Which is just a PSA. Always make sure you're chopping up the right friend.
Exactly. I mean, that's all we're asking.
Lesson learned.
But so the Mustache that's remaining says, No. You got the right one. You killed the right one. Here's a story about third grade. That should convince you. And then he's like, "Okay, good. We're friends." And then some more aliens show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out at that point that he didn't kill the right Mustache. He killed his friend. And
Which is just kill all the
Yeah.
mustaches.
And then the clone is an alien.
There's no good mustaches.
Right. And so whenever he finds out that he killed the wrong Mustache, he runs away again, back into town, which probably takes more hours. And then while he's in town, like the UFOs, like a whole fleet of UFOs show up, and then the buildings start to crumble. The lights
It's
start
just
to flash.
random, like just buildings.
Random.
Like, I was pretty sure they were in a neighborhood, but then there's like that building's exploding, and how are you seeing that? Like,
Yeah, and these are really
it's
big
a small
buildings
town,
for
but
such a
there's
small town.
giant buildings everywhere.
Yeah, and then so the UFOs show up, and
Hare drops to his knees and is like, ah!
yeah, one of those, Planet of the Apes moments,
Very much.
kind of.
Yep.
And that's it.
The
That's
end.
the end of the movie.
Yep, he gets beamed, right? Doesn't he get beamed up or?
Does he get beamed up? I can't
don't
remember if he
know.
gets beamed
Don't
up or not.
remember.
It's just such an odd place.
It's just weird lighting, and then there's buildings exploding, and I was like, how much longer?
And then
it
it's
was over.
done. Now this movie only runs like an hour and 8 minutes, so they
So
could
if
have
you
tacked on
want-
another 20 minutes and explained some of this.
And you can find these two, this movie and the next movie. You can find them, or this movie and whichever one you can find on Tubi if you really, really want to watch it.
yeah. The one that I'll be talking here in a little bit.
Yeah. That
will.
was the end. Okay, yeah. But yeah, you can find it on Tubi if you really
You can
want.
find it on Tubi. Tubi
you
has the
wanna-
greatest.
If you want to waste an hour of your life that you'll never get back, and that you can go and watch it.
And there's and Tubi also has the sequel on
Is it
there.
really?
And I started the sequel,
Oh, snap.
and Mustache is back, but I didn't
Mustache is
I only
back.
got into it about 5 minutes because I had
How
some
long
other
is that
stuff
one?
to
Did
do.
you see?
I didn't see how
Proper
long it
time?
was, but we'll revisit it eventually, I'm sure.
Alright.
But that was the end of the of feeders. Now the next one I'm going to talk about is it has kind of a a little bit more of a cult following. Rock and Roll Nightmare, I think, is what it's called.
It's called a couple different things.
It's called a couple of different things. It was originally called The Edge of Hell. And then they changed the name of it to market it better. And they changed like the movie poster and the cover of the VHS, but they didn't change the title screen in the movie.
Oh yeah.
So I think that you might be able to find this movie on YouTube in full, and I think that they also have it. It's available for rent on Amazon Prime, but I wouldn't pay.
Watch it on YouTube, you guys.
Much. Just go to YouTube and see if you can find it.
It's worth it. With the ads.
Yeah. Well, the lead character. This came out in July 1987. The lead character is a man named John Mickle Thor.
Wait, this was made in the 80s?
Yes, the 80s.
Hairband galore.
I like his little codpiece that he's wearing.
Sassy
belt.
So
sassy
strap and the
sassy belt.
arm pieces.
Yeah. He-Man vibes, man.
Very much. If He-Man
it's hot here. Whew.
If He-Man were glam rock.
If he was glam rock. So John Mickle Thor was also he was a bodybuilder back in the 80s who I think did some stripping, and he also was the frontman for a band also named Thor. So we kind of got a Bon Jovi type sitch there.
Okay.
And I'm going to call him Thor for the rest of this because that's what he calls himself. Now, there is a documentary called I Am Thor about this man and about this movie, too, that they touch on. And it's just as interesting as, like, the Troll 2 documentary made about that.
Sometimes the documentaries are better than the movies.
I think it's the documentaries that make me love the original movie a little bit more because then you get to know all the working parts and non-working parts behind it. So anyway, Thor here, he plays the lead character of this film. The movie starts out in this little farmhouse with a family. Everybody's getting ready for the day. Mom's making breakfast. She's attacked by something unseen. They go to see what's wrong with Mom. They open the oven and her burnt skeleton pops out. Her son sees the whole thing. And that's a wrap on this family. And the family. Now we cut to another damn driving scene where it's just like this, showing this group of people who you find out is in a band.
The musicians.
They're musicians, hence why they're in a band. And this scene goes so incredibly long of them driving. Like you see them as a teeny tiny van, and then you watch it get closer and closer and closer and closer for 4.5 minutes. I timed it. I had to go and
which is like 4 minutes too long.
And see, yeah, it was like 4 minutes. Anyway, no dialogue, no credits, just a bunch of driving. So they finally get to this house, and that's whenever they come out, and you discover that the house has been abandoned for 10 years at this point. And I guess they leased it or whatever. They're going to be staying there for 5 weeks while they record their new album, which everything's set up in the barn for them.
This gave me like, did you see Bohemian Rhapsody?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so.
But I've seen the highlights.
Like, I remember watching that around the time that you showed me this movie, so it was like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, like, this is kind of like there's a scene in Bohemian Rhapsody where, like, Queen gets in a car and they go to this, or they fly to this, like, farmhouse so they can record Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. And they're writing the song and stuff like that. I was like, is this like a ripoff of, like, like, there's like, we're going to hang out in this farmhouse and we're not leaving till our album's done. Yeah. And I was like, I've seen this, but it was with Freddie Mercury.
When I was watching it again the other day to kind of refresh it, I kept thinking, I wonder if the Foo Fighters movie is going to be this good.
I'm seeing that next week, dude.
Are you going to see it? I can't wait to see it. But yeah, so they show up to this house. And everybody shows up with their girlfriends and groupies and everything. So everybody's kind of well paired off. Mm-hmm. The band now this fictional band in the movie is called Triton, named after the lead singer, John Triton, who is Mr. Thor. Let's see, they settle in, they eat dinner, everybody kind of pairs off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Then they go out to the barn to rehearse for the first time, and that's when it's revealed that there are little rubber, one-eyed, wormy demons inhabiting this place. They're wormy creatures lurking about, is what I wrote down.
And we also need to discuss throughout this how many costume changes there are for that one. This is the main guy who keeps changing his costume like over and over again, like every scene.
I'm sure he is. Yeah, they've only been here for like an hour.
Yeah,
and so and it's also worth mentioning too that all the music that's performed and used in this film is done by Mr. Thor's band, Thor. And
no shade, but he wears a lot of like deep V, like.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's a bodybuilder. He got to show that stuff off.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, the man is like close to 70 now.
He's got like
back then,
90 outfits in this movie, and they're all spandex, and it's all glittery. And like, what are you wearing?
It's the hairband. It's the glue
And then
band.
in the next scene, it's another outfit. And in the next scene, it's another outfit. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So after they rehearse, they go to bed.
Yes.
And the more, sexually aggressive girl traps the manager in the basement, turns into a demon, and eats him. For some reason. And when the band can't find him...
Maybe she was on her period.
Wow.
That's PMS.
So they go looking for him and they can't find him. And they're like, oh, he took off with the van. Because the van's gone, apparently, at this point, too. They go to bed. And another one of the girls there turns into a demon and eats another dude. So they're just... Whatever is in this house is picking them off one at a time.
Yep.
Then a group of girls show up and they're like, we want to meet the band. And suddenly the manager is back there. He's already back.
Yep.
And he's like being real like creepy and telling them they're going to have to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So cringy. And they're like, we didn't sign up for that. So they leave. And then you never see them again. And then they have another rehearsal the next day. But after this rehearsal, there's a couple of sex scenes in it.
Oh, God.
That are so, like, a couple...
Too much!
Like, yeah, by different... Like, it keeps cutting from one couple to another couple.
There's one particular... I remember one particular sex scene where it's like, you can tell these two people have never been naked in a room with anyone ever in their lives.
I wrote down here...
They're, like, very awkwardly, like...
Yeah.
Touching and...
Yeah, I said, it's very awkward, very uncomfortable, hanky-panky. And the scenes go way too long.
Yeah.
And I think that...
One of them's like a shower scene.
Yeah,
right?
one of them's a shower Thor is in the shower with his girl, and it's just... It's very uncomfortable. It's borderline ridiculous, really.
It's not good.
And I'm sure that they thought, yeah, that was hot, man.
They're like, Mr. Thor, just do it the way you would do it in real life. And he's like, okay.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can get around all these muscles. So, anyway.
Tiny shower.
In this tiny shower. And then the demon shows up again, or one of the demons shows up again as the little boy from the opening scene and lures a couple more out to the barn. A couple more characters get killed out in the barn by the boy, who's a demon.
Boy demon.
Boy demon. A beeman.
A beeman.
A little boy demon. Anyway, so yeah.
Demon boys.
Demon boys. And he kills them. So eventually, I guess everybody is dead at this point except for Thor. Or missing. I don't know. I don't know where they all went.
Man, of course.
He's the main man. So Thor is the only one left alive. And he narrowly misses death a couple of times. He kind of magoos his way, when like
fumbles his way through it.
One demon throws themselves at him and he
the demons are like, we see how he tries to have sex. Let's just give him this one.
We'll just give him this one.
He's not gonna procreate. He'll die off.
And so he's working in the barn, I guess, on some of the music at this point. And I think the big puppet comes out at that point.
Yes.
Isn't it? The big demon?
Yes.
And Thor is like, hey, I know you. I already knew you were here. And they were like,
rude to
you're
assume
Beelzebub.
Very rude to assume he speaks English.
Right,
he's
right.
A demon.
Well, the demon shows up and he's like, oh, hey, it's you, Beelzebub. And he keeps calling him Bub. Because his name is Beelzebub, like he's Wolverine or something.
He's like giving him a nickname.
Yeah,
and
so
like that.
So he's like, Beelzebub is like, hey, I just killed all your friends, so now we've got to fight. And he was like, wait a second, those weren't my friends. Here's the thing about me, is that all of those were shadow people, just imaginary people that I made up.
Twist that I have ever...
Weirdest twist.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
So what, you came to these woods by yourself? You came to this cabin alone?
I guess with all of his imaginary friends. Because here's the thing.
You awkwardly had sex on purpose like
that?
Yeah,
right. With imaginary people?
With imaginary people who were not into it.
Was he just completely like just totally going off on himself?
He's just jerking it like
in the shower. That's not what it looked like.
Ooh baby,
in his head.
Baby. Yeah, but in his head.
So so he tells Beelzebub.
Okay.
He tells Beelzebub it's all imaginary. Those weren't my friends, and I created those people because I'm the intercessor. I'm the archangel Triton. And I lured you here with my friends and whatever to fight. And so, cue the big fight scene. And the fight scene is just a bunch of rubber toys and starfish being thrown at him. And he's like...
It's like tentacles and
he's like dodging them and squeezing the blood out of them. And easiest fight I've ever seen.
It's like they bought a bag of like bath toys, like children's bath toys. And they're like, let's make a movie.
Yeah. They're like hollow rubber.
Yeah. It's they're
so goofy. They're so good. They look like dog chew toys.
It really is. Yeah, like if you like, they're like, so we're gonna need you not to squeak these.
Yeah, don't squeak them.
Don't squish them because they're gonna squeak. Yeah, it's gonna pick it up on the mic.
You don't want to pick up.
He's like, okay.
Yeah, and so
bad.
And in all of this, he transforms into, I guess, the Archangel too, and which basically means he gets a studded, codpiece like over here, and So then once all the little rubber toys are dealt with, he then starts to wrestle Beelzebub, who is tall, but is, like just a giant marionette. So he's like grabbing the hands and like, I'm fighting.
Don't hit me.
Yeah, don't. That's how it is. It's like he's making it hit. And he gets knocked over a couple of times where the hand is just like, bleh.
It's like when you're like young with your siblings and you're like, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? He's like, why are you hitting yourself?
Like seriously,
in this fight?
Why are you hitting yourself? Yeah. And so, and then that happens for a couple of minutes, and then suddenly Beelzebub's like, you've won this time, but I'll be back. You'll see me again. And then disappears in a fountain of sparks.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. Then you cut to, after the sparks, Thor in a graveyard, saying he got his revenge on what, I don't know.
The imaginary friends he got
killed, I guess. And
this movie was really like, what am I watching?
So disjointed and
I think when I saw this movie with you, the original time that I saw it, I was very drunk, and so that made it really hard to follow what was happening.
It's hard to follow sober, so I can only imagine.
And then I watched it again for this, and I was like, nope, still don't understand.
Still don't understand it. And it ends with, like, it shows a shot of a house in a suburb that wasn't in the movie.
Yep.
Then it pans
not
out.
Related at all.
Pans out to the suburb, and then fade to black, and it's over. It's like, why did this...
Like, did he move to the suburbs afterwards?
Is that your Archangel house? The Intercessor house?
The Intercessor suburbs?
And that's where that one ends. It's like, well, the writers and producers of these movies are just like, I guess we're out of budget, so I guess we'll just end it here. I don't know.
They're like, and the end.
And the end.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That was an interesting...
That's...
I mean, if that's the word you want to use for it, I don't know.
This is my favorite one.
This one
was the one.
Saved the best for last, you guys.
The creme de la creme. It's called
Trigger warning for...
Trigger warning. This does deal with...
sex workers.
It also deals with the termination of a pregnancy. So, if any of that is triggering for you guys,
don't watch it.
Don't watch it. However, I am pretty sure that the makers of this movie were part of like the Texas pro-life coalition, because the moral of this story is if you terminate a pregnancy, the fetus will come back and kill you. So,
but only if it gets soaked in toxic waste.
Well, you know what? According to these horror movies, toxic waste is everywhere.
Well, I used to watch a bunch of like, I very much watched the Trauma-Vision, like all of the Toxic Avenger movies and stuff like that when I was a kid. And like I would stay up late after my parents went to bed and I would watch it. And I really thought that I would run into way more toxic waste in my adulthood.
Thought this was going to be
I
a problem.
didn't see any of it.
I've never been offered drugs, and
we have to cover Toxic Avenger because that one it does not hold up. There is some rough.
A lot of the trauma films didn't hold up when they came out, but they're so tongue in cheek too that
some of the language, some of the words that they use.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't say that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say that. Well, the Suckling starts off with scrolling text like, you know, Star Wars or something, and it gives away the entire movie. So basically, everyone dies in a brothel except for one girl, and this is her story. So don't get attached to any character except for this one girl, I guess.
One girl, yeah. Whose name is Girl.
Yes, this is another thing that I'd like to touch on. She is not given a character name. I even looked it up on IMDb to see what her name was, and her name in the movie is Girl.
Which we were talking about this before we recorded, and your brother was like, of course she doesn't have a name, because, you know.
She's the one that's seeking.
She is the one that's seeking to terminate her pregnancy, so why give her a name? Because she's like it's a comment on...
But she's the main character. She's the only one that lives.
And to be fair, she is on the fence about what she wants to do at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. So, we'll get into that. It starts out, it's a classic dream sequence, and she's dreaming that she's getting wheeled through kind of a... I don't know how to describe this medical facility. It's kind of questionable. The nurse is topless.
The nurse is wearing one of those very much like the sexy nurse costumes.
Right.
With just the whole top. Just
the whole top is out.
The whole thing's open. She's just open to the world.
Yeah.
I would not want to go to this hospital.
I don't want to go to this hospital either.
That doesn't look sanitary at all.
She's
carrying like a saw or something.
An axe, I think it was, or a hatchet or something.
Everything's bloody.
Yeah, everything's bloody. But you do get to see your first pair of boobs at a whopping 4 minutes and 33 seconds into the movie.
If you're one of those boob watchers who's like,
if you watch these for the
boobs, then there it is.
But it's like those weird 80s boobs.
Weird 80s boobs. They're sad and small and pointing in opposite directions.
Yeah.
So to each their own. We are fans of all breasticles of all kinds, but this one,
But, you know, it's just a weird place for a topless scene. So, but anyway, in the hospital, I digress. This is a dream sequence.
Okay.
So, so she wakes from this dream. I like to call the hospital, though, because the hospital? Because
there's some hoes.
There's some hoes in this house. She wakes up from the dream. And wait a minute, it's another dream within a dream, because then she dreams that a doctor slashes her throat. And then she wakes up from that dream. And now she's in a real hospital. Yeah. And she's attached to all these hoses and tubes. Yeah. And there's 2 doctors that are nearby that are describing her situation. They're like, what's up with this patient? Well, she was the only surviving person in a brothel massacre.
A doctor and a resident.
Yeah, a doctor and an intern or a resident.
The intern resident has got to be 50 years old.
I know. He got started late on that. It takes
a
while
balding.
To get
He's a short, balding man. Like, sir, if you have not figured out your life by now...
Yeah,
you're going to be a doctor for 4 years before you retire.
I don't want to go into computers or math or something, not doctoring.
Yes.
But anyway, so they describe her having, she's the sole survivor of this brothel massacre. Yeah. And I had to look up what they said. They said that she has, what was this called? Hyper-REM neurosis. Because she keeps having nightmares and keeps waking up from these nightmares. Mm-hmm. Hyper-REM neurosis, which I looked up, and...
Is it a thing?
It is not a thing.
No. Okay.
So, now we finally get to, after we establish that she's been through this trauma, we flash back to her story. And it starts out with her and her girl and boyfriend pull up to this dilapidated house in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I was like, these hoes can't afford a gardener because the yard is overgrown.
Yeah. It looks like a haunted, vacant house.
It does look like a vacant house.
So, he's like, the girl is really reluctant about being here, obviously, and the boyfriend's like, let's just check it out. Well, what they're there for is they went to this is a brothel, which of course is illegal, and that they also perform...
It's a 2-in-1.
It's a 2-in-1. They also perform the termination of pregnancy.
Yeah, like backdoor abortion.
Back alley.
Back alley terminations.
If they're going in the back door, then they're doing it wrong.
There shouldn't need to be a termination.
You know, yeah. So yeah, this illegal operation is happening out in the. So
if I were girlfriend, if I were the girl, I would be like, how do you know this brothel also performs this service?
Yeah.
Have you been here for one or the other?
Yeah.
Why do you know this place?
Back page of the local free paper.
The 5 and dime,
The
like
5 and
pick little
dime.
nickel papers or whatever.
Oh, look, we can go there.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then they're giving away cats on the next street. Cool.
Free puppies. And like what I thought was really funny about this too is they go into the brothel and the characters are kind of introduced one by one. All of the sex workers and security guards and everything there, they all have character names.
They all have names.
Except for girl and boyfriend or whatever.
I thought I was having some kind of fever dream, like I had forgotten, like, and I was like, well, they're gonna say it anyway. Like,
yeah.
The whole movie, like, what's this guy's name?
Yeah. What is her name? And they even refer to her, girl, what are you doing here? Girl, you come this way. I mean, they never say there's not a character name. So, but everybody else does. Anyway, so she's reluctant, but she goes in. They meet the security guards whose names are Sherman and Axel. Girl is escorted away by a sex worker who is named Big Mama. And she looks like Big Mama.
Imagine a Big Mama.
Imagine Big Mama.
White lady, lots of makeup.
And they're going to discuss the procedure. She still doesn't want to go through with it. But Big Mama gives her a drink, which is spiked. And so she passes out. And they end up doing the procedure.
And they just do it.
Without her consent. She did not sign any forms.
Not a form to be signed.
Not a form. No ID.
No ID.
No insurance card. They just flat out.
You're not my PPO.
I'm sorry, you're not in my network.
Are you Blue Cross? do you have your card?
Do you have your card? No. Let me go Xerox that real
you
quick.
Have Medicaid?
So they do the procedure. When they pulled this fetus out, they make a remark about how it's one of the biggest fetuses they'd
for
seen.
For a second term.
And then Big Mama hands it over to one of the other girls and says,
take care of it the way I taught you.
Take care of this the way I taught you, which consists of her going to the toilet and flushing it. She flushes the fetus, which is almost the size of a baby.
It's almost the size of a full-term baby. She just flops. It's in a towel. She flops it in the toilet. And First of all, my dad's in construction. Bad for your plumbing.
Very bad for your plumbing. That's gonna
get stuck.
You're gonna have to call out for that one.
But it doesn't. It just
goes on. They've got a great sewage system, and
it shows the whole. It shows the whole thing.
So the thing just kind of rolls into the sewer. It's not pretty, but it doesn't look real either. So anyway,
the whole time I was watching, I was like, "Oh, this is not good."
I know.
This is gonna make some people mad.
Mad. But here's the thing, though: it rolls right into the toxic waste that happens to be on their property.
Because there's like this. Apparently, it's in this tube, and there's like a grate, and then just toxic waste just dripping
all
which
over
I
the
told
place.
Courtney makes a lot of sense because the special effects person for this movie worked on the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one came out first, but
he knows it's toxic waste.
I imagine they're like, we need toxic waste.
I guess I need to pick up a barrel for emergencies.
They're like, that's not really in our script. Like, that's the only kind of makeup I know how to do. Toxic waste or nothing. And then you watch this thing like mutate or whatever, and I'm like,
I like how it just jiggles for a while.
Jiggling and getting like mutating, like angrier, and then eventually it's this thing.
It turns into that.
Yeah.
So it immediately starts mutating in the toxic waste.
And getting bigger.
Every time it cuts back, it's like huge, bigger and bigger and bigger.
I was telling Courtney it makes sense why there's toxic waste because otherwise, like, no one's gonna be scared of this like tiny rejected fetus. Like,
no, it has to get bigger. It has to get bigger.
Otherwise, it's just a sad movie. Some sad.
It's just sad.
Yeah, it's just sad. Not that it's not sad. Lots of people die in this movie.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that die. Anyway, so we come back to Big Mama, who's cleaning up from the surgery
with
a literal coat hanger. She's pulling
tissue off
of this coat hanger, and then she puts her lab coat on
Hangs
it.
a white
hangs it
lab
up.
coat on it. Sees there's some blood and just kind of like,
Just kind of, oh,
like,
there's some
wipes
blood
it
on
off,
it. Wipes
yeah.
it off. This place can't even afford 2 coat hangers.
she used that coat hanger on the last lady, the one who was the other one in the waiting room. Who's I don't remember her name. What was her name? Blonde, the blonde with the hair. But
Candy. Candy, I think is that girl's name.
Because girl got her stuff taken care of, and then immediately was the other lady, and she's just like in there with like, you're not even gonna disinfect.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna get sepsis. That's what happened to Penny in Dirty Dancing.
Yep. That's what happens.
Penny got in trouble.
So yeah, so they reuse the same coat hanger for everybody who comes in and to hang up their coat. Meanwhile, sewer fetus continues to mutate. The girl comes to, and she is PO'd.
She is not happy. What happened to me?
Not happy. What happened? I didn't consent to this. I'll never forgive you. Blah, blah, blah. Boyfriend's like,
But it makes
hang
me
on.
think maybe consent is not super boyfriend's thing. He's probably not that into it anyways.
Maybe.
How she got in that position to begin
I
with.
guess. Slipping that condom off or something.
Oh,
So, yeah.
safe sex, you guys. Can we just...
And then while she's coming to, one of the Johns that are in the brothel comes out and he's arguing with another sex worker named Tammy, I think was this one's name.
I think so.
They're arguing about something and Tammy ends up just shooting him.
Yep.
And killing him.
Yep.
And so they're all, and then everybody's like, oh man, not another one. Now I got to figure out what to do with this body. And
But I do like how Big Mama is like, you kids need to run along because you don't want to be involved in any of this.
mhm. Yeah, you need to run along.
Not like, you saw something, you stay here.
Yeah.
Which is what I would have done if I was Big Mama.
Big Mama was.
You're not going anywhere. You just saw someone get murdered.
And so Sherman, the other security guard, who's
I
a lot
like Sherman.
gentler. Sherman was a nice one.
He was a nice
He's a
guy.
lot gentler with the
Yeah.
girls that work there. And he punches Axel out.
Yeah.
So
Axel's kind of a tool.
Axel, why is he so surly? I mean, he is surly the entire movie.
You know what I
Just a
called
bad
him?
boy.
The poor man's Tony Danza.
Poor man Tony Danza. I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like a tiny little Guido with like
Yeah.
small man syndrome. Like gun.
So Sherman dumps Axel into another room so he can come to later and
Yeah, he's like,
think
you
about what
calm
he's
down
done.
and just locks him in a room.
And yeah, locks him in a room. So anyway, so the bigger problem that they don't even realize is happening yet is that sewer fetus is now mobile and traveling through the
Crawl
plumbing.
back up through the pipes.
Crawl back up to the pipes, and has placed some sort of membrane on all the exits of the house.
It's like the house is covered in afterbirth.
Yeah,
like
like a placenta.
Like there's a placenta around
lots
the
of
house.
slime.
They can't see through the windows. They can't open the doors.
Yeah, so all the exits are blocked. There's just
And
no
apparently
way
no
out.
phone lines.
And the phone lines again were cut, so
These
they can't get out.
creatures are smart.
They know the first thing. They know the first thing that you do is cut the phone lines.
The
if you
suckling
want.
knows.
The suckling knows. That's good. I need a T-shirt with that on it.
With this face.
With that face.
Suckling
yeah.
knows. And like a phone.
And a phone with a broken cord on it.
Yep.
So anyway, okay, so we've got the impenetrable placenta on everything. Phone lines have been cut. This thing has finally grown into like this huge bony thing that you see behind us. But it's like 8 feet tall and
Real wrinkly. Teeth for days. Like a lot of teeth.
Teeth for days. Yeah. And so he ends up killing one of the girls, one of the sex workers. He ends up killing her in the bathroom and beheading her somehow.
Was she a sex worker? I thought she was just the assistant.
Maybe she was just
assistant to the clinic.
Maybe the receptionist.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. But she gets dead.
Yes.
And so that's when everybody starts to really realize now that there's something.
Which I took
horrible
offense
going
to
on.
because she's the black girl of the group, and of course she's the first one to get killed. Rude.
Always. Let's see. There's another John in the brothel that we haven't even mentioned too. That in the first 5 minutes of this film,
I didn't know if you're gonna talk about it or not.
I'm gonna go ahead and mention this. He not only is wearing one of those beanies with the
beanies with a little
propellers,
spinny propeller.
you know, those things for comedic relief or whatever.
Yeah.
But he also enjoys getting pegged.
And he likes this dominatrix.
And he likes this dominatrix or
who
whatever.
I assume is underage because at the beginning of the movie, like when she's like doing her thing, The girl comes into the room and she's like, your grandma's here to pick you up.
Your grandma's here to pick you up. And she's like, okay, I'll be right down. Here, you finish this for me.
Immediately, I was like, how old is this girl?
Right.
She puts her Peg Bundy coat on and she just disappears.
Well, I mean, I guess that she made it home. So
she made it home. She's the only. So there were 2 survivors.
There were 2 survivors, but she wasn't there to witness the massacre. So
yeah, she was before anything happened. Yeah.
So this John, who enjoys all of this debauchery, he shows back up and he's like, I gotta get out of here because I'm worried about my BMW or something.
Yeah, he doesn't want his BMW parked out there because it's a bad neighborhood.
Because it's a bad neighborhood.
Sir, you came to this building of ill repute to
Right.
get your butthole played with.
Get your jollies.
Get your jollies, and maybe you should have taken a taxi.
Yeah. And so he's
maybe you should have
desperate.
called an Uber.
Yeah, he's so desperate to get out. And so they just hand him like a screwdriver and a hammer and was like, have at it.
They're like, you open the door then.
Yeah, but then they decided to build like a battering ram on a rope that they can crash into it, which takes forever to...
It takes forever for them to even build it.
And it's got like a trunk of
It's
stuff.
A trunk full of weights that apparently Axel had in this.
Axel had those weights, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
they're like, that sounds like a good idea. I was like, y'all couldn't come up with a different idea? That seems like a lot.
It's really...
Because they tore that house up to make that.
I know.
They were ripping the floorboards out so they can like put it over the beams and like...
And really all they had to do was pop out the hinges of the door at any point.
When What's-His-Face asked if they had any weights there, I thought they were going to use the weights to try and like bang the door
Bust
down.
through the door, but no.
They're like, let's tear the house up and...
They're just going to build a battering ram.
Big Mama will not be happy if this works, and then, like, hopefully it's covered under her insurance.
Can you insure an illegal brothel?
When a suckling comes to...
When the suckling comes? Is that in the fine print? It's not. It's not covered. Does not cover sucklings. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Because that is not an act of God.
No. And this is Texas, so of course it wouldn't be covered.
Anyway, they're building this brothel, and the John that's currently with them is like, hey, I got another $100. You guys want to pass the time? And they're like, no. Like, people are dying.
We're in a situation.
We're not going to do that.
We're this aborted fetus trying to kill us all.
He gets so ticked off at that.
Yeah.
So
calls them sluts or something like that, and is real rude.
Yeah, and so by this point, Axel has woken up or whatever.
And he is not happy.
He's not happy, so he comes after Sherman with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And during the ensuing fight... Sewer fetus pops out of a wall and kills Sherman, causing Axel to be like, whoa, and he's shooting the room erratically. And
it cracks me up that you keep calling it sewer fetus.
Sewer fetus.
It's called Suckling. That's the name of the movie.
It has a name, Courtney.
It's not sewer fetus.
No, I'm calling him sewer fetus.
Okay, sewer fetus. Anyway.
So sewer fetus.
Sewer fetus.
He pops out of a wall and eats Sherman.
Yep.
And
because now he can also travel through walls.
Because now he can bust through the wall. He's that big now. Axel is shooting all over the room, and I thought this was hilarious too because the bullets were like ricocheting off of wooden paneling.
The whole time I was yelling, "Take this gun away from this idiot! This idiot does not need this gun. He is trigger happy.
He's so surly. He's just too surly for a gun." So
who's the boss? Not you, Sherman.
Not you.
Not Sherman.
Axel.
Not you, Axel.
Not you, Axel. So Axel decides at that point he's had enough of this sewer fetus, and he's gonna go down to the boiler room because the best things happen in the boiler room. We've talked about this before.
If Nightmare on Elm Street taught me nothing, it's that boiler rooms are good.
Just go right in there.
Go right in.
And so he's gonna take the men.
And also, they have a boiler room in their house.
It's a basement with a heater. I guess you call it a boiler room.
But they called it a boiler room.
They call it a boiler room. So he takes the remaining men.
And one of the girls.
And I don't know if I got her name. I don't think I did. Anyway, he takes one of the girls with him. Not girl, but
Girl and Big Mama stay upstairs. The last, I think, remaining girl, they go downstairs.
But the last remaining other girl goes downstairs with him. They find the creature, and
because I think his plan is like, we just need to get it close enough to me, and then I can shoot it.
Yeah,
is what he says.
Yeah, he's like, get it out in the open, and then I'll shoot it. And then he sees it and then misses it entirely.
Yeah.
Just click, click, click till there's no more bullets. And then the girl that's with him, she's gone.
Yep.
She gets it. So the men folk are like, let's go regroup and get some more ammo. So they run out of the boiler room, get some more ammo, and then go back downstairs in the boiler room.
Yep.
They find sewer fetus again. and Axel promptly electrocutes himself, causing his head to explode.
His head, I did not know that if you get electrocuted, your head explodes.
Well, your head explodes.
In a fiery little pop.
Pop! Don't electrocute yourself. That's what happens when you stick a fork in a light socket.
You know, this is the part where I tell you guys that I myself have been electrocuted when I was a kid.
I've been electrocuted a couple of times accidentally, and boy, it kickstarts your heart, man.
Put up Christmas lights with my dad one year. I was
Head
standing in a
intact,
puddle.
though. Yeah, right.
And my dad's on a ladder, like, hanging lights up, and he looks down. He's trying to get me to give him, like, feed him more lights. And I'm being electrocuted, and I can't. And he looks down, and he's like, well, God damn it. And he just kicks me over. Like, he kicks me. So I move out of the puddle, and then I'm not being electrocuted. He's like, what'd you go and do that for?
The one time I can remember doing it was whenever I was replacing a fluorescent, like a tube fluorescent light in a light that was like over a desk, and it was kind of below my eye line. So I couldn't see it, and I was trying to pop it in, and I couldn't find the little slot where it popped in on one side. So I put it down, and I thought it was turned off, but the switch was on, and I went to go touch each and I'm all oh. And then I stood there for a while. I'm all okay, and that's what made my hair curly.
My head was still intact, though.
Yeah, my head was
did
still
not blow
intact,
off.
So
did not blow up.
Well, so at any rate, so the two remaining men, they're like, let's get out of here. So they run out of the boiler room again. And that's I guess it's the John that likes the backdoor action. Backdoor John and boyfriend. So they run back up, and they're like, okay, let's get this battering ram working now. So they start hitting the door. They get a hole.
Back forth,
Get a hole in the door finally, and the John who's there is like, I'm out, and they're like, wait a second, and he's like, bye-bye.
Just like tubey thing.
Yeah, through like this,
like a tunnel,
like a birth canal. I just this thing,
because it's real pink and wet and like
membraney and slimy and stuff. So anyway, so he gets out there, makes it about 5 feet. Sewer fetus is out there too.
It was a trap.
It was a trap.
Yep.
And all that's left of him is like a hand.
Which you see, kind of like...
Just kind of crawling along.
Like thing in Adam's Family.
Thing. Just crawling along.
But then it dies.
And then dies. So that's a wrap on John number 2.
Bye, Backdoor John.
Bye, Backdoor John. So Big Mama's real sad that Axel is dead. So she decides that she's going to go sit with his body while she waits for this whole thing to blow over. And then on the way there, sewer fetus comes out of a washing machine, eats her.
Yep.
So now it's just girl and boyfriend left. Boyfriend decides he's going to be a big man and fight this thing on, take this thing on, and is immediately killed.
Yeah.
And so...
Take that, boyfriend. Which I honestly, he had it coming, because...
You know what? Yeah, he should have been the first to get it, but, whatever. Yeah. Whatever. So all that's left is girl, and she's scared. And she's trapped in the room with this big sewer fetus, and the sewer fetus sees her.
I feel sad because she doesn't really know what's happening. Like, she doesn't know what this is. She doesn't know.
It's just a creature
she doesn't
know that it's.
That's one thing that sucked about this movie, is it never explained to the characters what's happening.
Yeah, and so sewer fetus sees her and recognizes his mother.
That's his mama.
And so what does any good sewer fetus do? He runs to her and
gets smaller and smaller and it makes
shrinks.
A weird coo sound, like a baby noise.
Like a baby noise.
Very off-putting.
Gets back to the size of a baby, and then crawls back up her,
like between her legs, just up into
back up mom
from whence it came.
And she passes out. And whenever she comes to again, she's at the hospital.
Yep.
And she's in a straitjacket. They put her in a straitjacket because apparently, well, actually, no, the police find her, take her to the hospital. She comes to in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And because of her story that she told, which is outlandish and weird, they put her in a straitjacket. So when she wakes up, she's in a straitjacket, which I'm sure is the protocol for mental health breakdowns.
While someone has clearly had something happen to their lady parts.
Something
has happened.
Scooped and reinserted.
Yes.
And so, while she's at the hospital, 2 orderlies come in and take her while she's bound up and have their way with her.
Mm-hmm. And it's real gross. It's icky.
Real icky and really...
Like, standing up, her body's just limp and like...
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Very triggering.
I was I hope sewer fetus...
Well, guess what?
Sewer
He
fetus.
does. Sewer fetus shows
Rips them
right back
up.
up, rips them up.
Blood's everywhere.
Blood's everywhere, and then that's kind
And you
of where...
see like the people that are in the facility are like looking through the window, like the patients,
Uh-huh.
and they're kind of just like,
Yeah. Well, of course,
that's what you get.
I guess they put her into a mental facility at this point.
In a room full of crazy dudes. Sorry, not saying crazy. Mentally ill.
In a room full of mentally ill,
patients. And they're like, oh, that one. And who hires orderlies that are going to do something like that? Like, maybe do a background check.
Yeah.
They're not hiring a bunch of rapists.
Right. Well, I mean, they may never have gotten caught yet, but Sewer fetus caught them. And so that was the end of that. But then there's a weird
after scene,
like a
credit scene.
like a credit scene of two boys in the woods watching a body dissolve. And I don't know where or why.
If you guys have any clue about what this is, let us know.
Let us know.
I don't know if, like, was this supposed to be a part of the movie and then they just like it's extra
or did they just
scenes,
find
or...
it on the cutting room floor and was like, that's cool, let's put that in. I don't know, but it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
And that was the end of that movie.
Yep.
So that this is my warning to everyone. If you are seeking a procedure like Girl had, then I would suggest going to a trained physician and go as far away as you can from toxic waste. What can I tell you?
Yep.
So.
Yep. Make sure there's no toxic waste anywhere nearby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Make sure don't drink anything while you're there.
Don't drink anything. Don't take anything to drink from
with
Big
a bottle.
Mama.
Like if the cap's still on it and you break the cap open, maybe if it's sealed.
Yeah. So that's
it, you guys.
That's my picks for this week.
That's, I mean, a lot of interesting life lessons we learned.
Lots of interesting life lessons. Don't show down with too many aliens.
If you're going through a small town and you see a UFO, keep driving.
Keep driving. Don't assume it's a meteor.
Don't assume it's a meteor. Don't hit anybody.
Don't hit anybody with your car.
Just keep driving.
Also, whenever you record an album with your band, make sure it is demon free.
Make sure they are real people.
Bring your Bible.
And not your imaginary friends.
Yeah, make sure you have a band with real people. And
obviously, if you're going to have any sort of clinical procedures done, do it in a hospital or a clinic, somewhere where it's safe. And if you're going to make a movie, you better have a budget.
Have some actors that are worth anything.
Otherwise, you're going to end up on a podcast like this.
Yep. And we'll be covering you next time.
We're going to be calling you a B-list movie.
We're going to call you B-list. You're going to be on the B-list with us. So
that's how we ended up here.
Yep. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. But yeah, thanks for listening and watching again. And we will catch you guys next time.
Catch you next time. Again, if you guys have any suggestions for us or any movies that you'd like us to rip on or anything like that, you can email us at b.listforever with the number 4 at gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at b_list_forever, again with the number. And so
follow, subscribe on YouTube, tell your friends.
Follow, subscribe, tell your friends.
Spotify, we're on Spotify.
We're on Google Podcast. I think that we might be on Apple Podcast now.
Woohoo!
Because I got a notification saying
that
we're on 3 platforms now, but I don't have iTunes because I'm an Android user, so I haven't verified that yet.
Same.
But
I have Apple friends I can ask.
Yeah. So if you're an Apple user, go
check us out there.
Apple Podcast now.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time.
We will see you guys next time. Love you guys.
Love you. Be safe. Make good choices.
Safe.
I'm such a mom.
Let me call